Welcome back to the final game in this series between Royal Never Give Up and SK Telecom T1. Once again, you see SKT, their coach, and a few of their star players on your screen. And you see the crowd ever in the favor of the Chinese squad. Royal Never Give Up. A few do have SKT signs as well, of course. A very popular team in their own right, but now it's the decider. SKT never lose these when it really counts, the World Championship. RNG get to choose blue side here as is their right, and we'll see what happens in the fifth game.
Feels like a final. Feels like we're at the grand final because it's all about being clutch. Right now, which team can come up in the clutch? That has been the one little criticism of Uzi's entire career. His play, his highlights, unmatchable. But Game 5 is where this man has largely had a monopoly on those results. One Chinese team, EDG, years ago at MSI, were able to answer SKT in a best-of-5 in the fifth game on the world stage. But other than that, it's only been wins for the side of SKT.
Yeah, one little criticism that has plagued Uzi his entire career. It's the difference between him having a cupboard full of silver medals or any gold. Now he wants another chance at gold, and to do that, he's gonna have to get past Faker himself.
And it's not just Faker anymore who's the prime suspect here of who do you ban out, who do you care about, who are you afraid of on SKT. Bang had a killer performance, and literally that on that Kog'Maw in the previous game, 825 damage per minute. He had like a 300 or so damage per minute difference. He almost doubled what came out of his opposing member. You know, 4/9 of all the kills was absolutely massive in that fourth game.
I mean, turn back the clock in 2015, there was no one safer than Bang for Faker to jump onto Lulu duty and for them to build comps around. He has been suspect at best at Worlds 2017. So in an elimination match, for him to step up means there is that supporting crew for Faker's ever-capable shoulders.
We have to talk about poise for these guys. I mean, everyone always has the spotlight on Faker, but Bang and Wolf, almost as much tenure as he on this team. That's why they got to be in the intro video right beside him, flanking Faker. They are also champions.
There's so many legends on this arena in this game. Of course, Uzi and Faker, two of the biggest ones. It was fun seeing the shot of the stage. There's a lot of large, pictures and ornamentation of some of the best players to play in Worlds throughout the years. We saw Peanut front and center at the very beginning, and it hovered over, and you saw Huni, and you see Uzi on the left-hand side right there. These players still on your screen right here on stage, battling to be the first team into the World Championship final this year. SKT don't miss finals, and they don't lose them when they get there. Royal seemingly collecting silvers constantly, at least Uzi himself, but has to win to get there at least.
Now, Royal fans will be emboldened by the fact that in Game 5, this entire series has gone blue side. They are blue side for the deciding Game 5. They can ban Jace for a 5th time, and now it's on SKT. You can see Faker trying to get as much focus as possible. Right now, the spotlight's on the coaches, though, as picks and bans get started.
Again, the Galio, Sejuani, Jarvan, all up in the air, circling around, waiting to be traded here.
One final ban of the first phase for Royal Never Give Up, and I wonder, are we going to see something
Tristana?
extra new? Or do they go back to the old style, but with the extra information of what their opponents have played so far this series?
Definitely using all of the clock. Draft could hinge on the ban here. Gragas once again banned on blue side.
Hoping
Both the victories for SKT was with the Gragas, Peanut and Blank picking up 1 each. To the jungle pool being pinched again.
So the question is, do you ban away the Jarvan or Sejuani and make that a 1 for something else trade with the Galio on one side, the uncontested Sedge on the other, or something similar?
If you ban Tristana, you theoretically get Galio and X, or you're able to look for the jungle matchup or the support matchup. So far, RNG have looked past the Galio. Wherever possible, the Jarvan they took previously is available.
Yeah, are they forcing a first pick jungle on the Jarvan? Or no, it goes to the Tristana. So Jarvan Galio, is that the famous combo that SKT get in the decider?
Jarvan Galio available. Xayah has been overlooked the entire time, and Rakan banned out earlier. I think SKT stick with the Galio. You can hear the crowd. They were laughing about this pick in Game 4. No longer laughing. A bit bemused, though, in Game 5. See it a 5th time in Faker's hands.
It would be unreal to have Faker play 5 Galio games in a row if SK Telecom failed.
I'm going to go further. It'd be unreal not to see Jarvan Kog'Maw locked in here, try to turn the old Chinese technology against them. It's the most obvious draft of all time.
They can, of course, play it later on with the Trish picked up. There's no rush there, so quickly it's a new look once again. Seeing the same lane matchup 5 times. Xiaohu now brings in the Corki, and the rush to get Let Me a Protector in the Shen.
And you hear the cheers go up from the Chinese crowd for Xiaohu's Corki. He can carry so well in the late game. It's not just about Uzi, and we mentioned the spread of damage over this series. Yes, the early game might not be as much pressure, but RNG will definitely be packing it later.
So you don't take Kog'Maw here. If you take Lulu, you kind of prompt a Kog'Maw ban. It's an obvious ban to take away. They've prioritized the Lulu. They could not get both and pair them with the Galio and Jarvan. So now, still the second phase, super intriguing.
But if you have to start banning away carries from Bang, you don't get to pinch Huni's champion pool anymore. The Gnar, the Trundle, Cho'Gath, things that have been attacked quite a bit in the draft. He can get one of those big carries, and you're seeing SKT worried about aggro lanes, ban Leona themselves.
Wonder what this means for the jungle pool for MLXG, because Lee Sin has been played once by him at Worlds. Massive pick for the side of RNG, and the jungle pool certainly has started dwindling. Swanee banned a lot earlier. The Kog'Maw, like we expected, you see Lulu picked. Kog'Maw is almost certain to be banned with no Rumble to try and take him down in team fights.
Yeah, I doubt we'll be seeing a Nocturne again.
Nope.
We're talking about MLXG's jungle champion pool. Yeah, the Lee Sin or Rek'Sai or something are a bit more likely there. Oh, okay, I'm 100% sure we won't
Wow,
be seeing the
Nocturne actually comes through as the ban. That is a big shock to me, but it happened all the same. So RNG, what is the final ban? What are they most afraid of Twitch? It's removing hyper carries from Bang, saying, I dare you to find something that you can carry with.
And now this is so interesting because a lot of the conventional AD carries are gone. You could go lower damage to an Ashe, for example, if you wanted. Looks like they're going to pick their AD carry last, suggesting perhaps they will go very risky with their AD carry choice. And for a blind pick top laner, Trundle was the pick for them in recent weeks, but the Gnar lane pressure worked for them largely in Game 4.
Yeah, and he knows he's going into the Shen, so he knows that it won't be that difficult. You won't get that pressure from something like a Camille, from something like the Rumble lane.
We'll see what it comes through. Final rotations now for World Never Give Up. Who's the last round of the draft? They need a jungler. They need a support. Tarek worked for them before. They locked it in again. That was a win for them. That was the Vayne game. It's Tristana this time around. SKT, last pick their bot lane. The tier list says it's going to be Xayah.
Let's discuss, though, that RNG don't have Force on their lineup. This is a lot harder Tarek comp to pull off. The timing of the Cosmic Radiance with no engaged.
Lee Sin.
I mentioned the Lee Sin. It seemed likely when they held onto it, but a risky choice by RNG.
Incredibly risky. We mentioned how difficult it is to play the team fights with the Tarek. You're using it effectively, and as Papa said, not a lot of control here. Crowd control specifically from the RNG lineup.
Whenever the Tarek comp can choose when the fight happens, they choose their engage, they get the first target low, they choose the exact timing. A proactive Cosmic Radiance is one of the scariest abilities in the game, but they are very low on those proactive plays, and reactively, we've seen so many teams trip up with the Tarek.
I will say that there are a lot of tools around MLXG's Lee Sin to really enable this pick, even more so than usual though. A Shen Stand United could be on top of him when he goes in for an insect play to force that fight, and he can reposition so quickly that the Tarek stun can be extended. It does take a very high level of execution to actually pull that off, but if done so correctly, would be spectacular.
Here we are into the decider. Bang on the Caitlyn. A little bit of a new look for SK Telecom T1. I don't think a lot of teams saw this champion coming into Worlds, but the Chinese teams popularized it and won with it, and fairly many other squads decided, you know what, you guys are right, this is a smart adaptation. SKT bringing once again a new look into this draft. And MLXG once again on Lee Sin, another champion that people weren't expecting to see much of, but push comes to shove. Backs against the wall now, match point for either side, do or die. All the references you want to make, it is this, the final competition for both these teams. One is going home, and one will move on to the finals. Here's game 5.
Uzi once again in this seat. Game number 5 on an elimination series. How will he perform under the pressure with the curse living over his head versus some of the most prolific and the most clutch players in all of League of Legends history on SK Telecom.
And it's so surreal because you hear the calls of the crowd. They are desperate to see a Chinese team in the final, for Uzi to actually get that big trophy. You hear the crowd cheer. Remember, it's still another best of 5 after this. Being clutch here is so important for Uzi, but there will be an even further requirement for him in a week's time at the Bird's Nest in Beijing. So there's still so much to be done, and yet it feels like right now we have a final of its own.
It's because right now is do or die, as Freak so eloquently puts.
All the references, there's plenty of synonyms there, and no one's mind is anywhere but in this game right now. Samsung, WE, not names in their minds. It's all about Bang, Wolf, Faker, Peanut, Huni, Let Me, MLXG, Xiaohu, Uzi, and Ming. These 10 players, the coaches can no longer talk to them. The drafts no longer matter. Execution is all you need. And as minions spawn, RNG gonna go for an invade, try to punish Huni's potential leash. And go back to their side afterwards. It will be a late start though for MLXG. He'll be a few seconds off.
As you see, SKT stealing away the Raptors here, getting a bit of experience onto Bang in particular. Only gets one because of the patience range there, and he has to go to lane to get the melee minions. RNG actually went straight to lane, so it might be a level 2 advantage here in the bot lane.
Assuredly. I mean, RNG get to shove this early wave in, and they get complete control down here. Shouldn't be difficult for Bang and Wolf to reset off of that tower bounce, though. With the Lulu and Caitlyn, they have very strong advantages here. Now, you talked about the bands of supports, you know, the Leona specifically in Champion Select here, but Tarek and Tristana can also apply a tremendous amount of kill pressure. Ming, though, taking a lot of damage on the outside.
Not a lot of ways out, he flashed, but it's gonna be Peanut in range! He's gonna get in there with the Ignite, the damage comes through, first blood for Bang!
We said one of the only things that they would fear would be Rock's Peanut. Peanut comes down from the red buff to the bottom lane to secure first blood for SKT.
Talked about taking away strategies as well. That's MLXGS. One buff into walking all the way down. That is not what you expect conventionally from a Korean jungler min-maxing. This is all about getting in the head of RNG. Has to make the entire trip, walks all the way down. They see RNG pushed up, and Peanut smells his moment.
So many things collaborate here to make this possible. SKT, they seemingly for free give away this minion wave push level 1 by going to the Raptors. Yet, all the time, coordinated with Peanut on this Jarvan, a red buff start immediately to the bottom lane to take advantage of an over-pushed lane. And it finds success here in Game 5, the critical moment.
One of the few moments maybe there would have been a smiling Peanut, as he's been grimacing almost the entire summer season into Worlds. That was vintage him. Didn't take an Elise pick, didn't take the Nidalee, was banned away in the previous game. But a confidence booster is so important for the jungler of SKT.
The first recalls come through in the mid lane. Faker, if he wants to, can TV right back in. Just add some ability power for the wave clear. MLXG is hard farming. He actually went for his own trust as well, something not too often seen in early clears, but a hard farm out of the Lee Sin so far. Level 3 for him, matched by Peanut though. He's also got himself a gank off, so massive props, of course, to the SKT junglers we were mentioning before. Let Me doing his best to play defense up here. Is currently up in farm. Worth noting, he's doing very well for himself, but Shen has been a big champion for him. His ultimates were so good in that first game.
Huni has had 1% jungle proximity. 1%. No visits at all. And some of the lane phases, most famously Game 1, have not gone his way, but he's got that thankless task. We've talked about it a couple of times. Push in, create pressure, even with 2 losing lanes at times, especially during Worlds, and don't die. And there's always going to be that pendulum swing, and he's largely done his job pretty respectably in this series.
Meanwhile, opposing him, Let Me has diligently done his job on the tanks.
Sure.
Shen, Maokai, and RNG have been able to really effectively actually use that Shen previously. Remember back to earlier in this series, the bottom lane focus where MLXG did go top. You know, he was able to lend some support to Let Me and get Shen to that level 6 where they could take advantage. But right now, it might be him that would be in need of some support. Fancy camera work there, though, and he's no longer around the mid lane. Currently down bottom, looking for a play off the control ward.
Just feels like MLXG needs to make action happen wherever he goes. Late rotation jungler, the playmaker that he is famous on. If everything's left equal, I mean, pushing advantage for SKT top and bot lane, although it's pretty even right now as RNG have pushed up, and Galio situationally can clear faster than the Corki. So my eyes are really trained on what MLXG can do as well. That's his first aggressive move.
Yeah, lands a slow couple autos, but Galio already on the way down. Faker not far. Doesn't have ulti, but still. Nice tread at Huni, lands the hyper damage, and that will be a control ward cleared away. So now suddenly it's RNG losing vision on this side of the map.
It's going to be so much of balance here in the early game about the globals of all these solo laners. As we approach the level 6s for Faker, for Let Me, these cooldowns are tremendously long in the early game, and those are what you base your entire team strategy for that early game around. Jungle paths are determined by these. Trades in the top lane like we just saw could very well mean Let Me joining on this bottom side gank, or it fails.
We didn't even mention it. Ming has Ignite, so showing a bit of transparency around playing around bot side. That's why you see MLXG once again returning here for the lane game. But SKT pulling back, very respectful.
Yeah, no reason to go run headlong into them in front of a minion wave, so gonna play at range. I do want to point out though, despite the Caitlyn pick, and so many times in Worlds we see it be a super lane dominant pick, you knock the turret down, there's nary a lick of damage on the RNG bot lane turret right now. Uzi and Ming, maybe with the Ignite threat, who knows, have been able to keep the lane at equilibrium the whole time.
So now I would definitely say that the respect is being paid to that Shen, Stand United post level 6. But you're right, the kill pressure early on of an Ignite Taric Tristana lane that we talked about, definitely keeping them honest. And pressure actually is a very ambiguous term that we use often as casters in League of Legends, but we could simplistically describe a couple of versions here. So one version of pressure does come from kill pressure, and that is from assassins or from skill combinations like we just mentioned, where you can all in and kill the opposing champion. The other form of pressure that we talk about very often is the ability of a champion to clear out the minions in a much quicker fashion, which basically, again, gives that homework to the enemy, as you can see there, to have to clear out before going for one of those rounds.
That's why Galio kind of has the best of both worlds, because he instantly clears a minion wave, leaves, and he even has a global to get somewhere faster than you can. So you're always under intense map pressure. Do you call missing every time he wave clears? He's got the wave clear from level 1. So I take your point, Kobe. It is a very nuanced point. We talk about even the map pressure, the ability to push being enough to create pressure on the enemy jungler because the laners can leave first. Seeing both laners on our screen, leaving for now, trying to provide coverage. MLXG one camp away from 6.
Peanut, I believe, was seen coming down through the mid lane. Of course, the minion wave wasn't there, so he gets to walk, and now he is seen. He puts the red ward down and says, I'm not going to bother stealing this one. RNG know that information themselves, of course, as well. As the red buff will be grabbed pretty cleanly by MLXG. First level 6 is going to be that RNG jungler. The Peanut you expect not far behind.
And then it comes to weird summoner spells. Like Ignite on Taric is something that may never have been played in the entire summer season. It's not what you'd expect. And Exhaust, certainly. Heal has become common. He has the Wind Speaker, so you would have thought heal. But Ignite basically says, wait, you've got a Lee Sin, and your support with a stun has Ignite. You're expecting bot lane pressure, and that probably means that after clearing a wave, Bang walks backwards because he's like, wait, surely the enemy jungler with this Ignite Taric will play around bot side. If that means the turret lasts 3, 4, 5 minutes longer, just a summoner spell choice is enough to create pressure or implied pressure on the SKT bot lane.
And the first recalls come through, of course. Bang with more money gets to finish an entire Ninja Tabby, but it's actually still up in farm for Uzi. A pretty safe recall. So often you see a Caitlyn get to dictate when that happens, come in with BS Rotor's pickaxe, and it's the same attack damage out of the Tristana. And mid to late game, I think there is a massive power spike that comes out of the Trist, much more so than the Caitlyn gets.
I mean, on a simple level, late game, it's one threat, and the one threat is Caitlyn. On the side of SKT, a lot of the nerfs towards Caitlyn were about attack speed, base attack speed. Nerfs into meaning attack speed items give her less rewards. So when it comes to late game fights, Xiaohu on his famous Corki that won them a lot of their way towards their eventual second place runners-ups and that won him his MVP is going to be so pivotal because there's a point where SKT may run out of damage.
It's definitely true. You have to take into consideration the theoretical maximum damage output for a backline of Corki Triss, definitely higher. But topside, we actually have some action brewing.
Okay, Let Me can get the taunt. He's not going to go for it. He's running out of health instead. So just MLXG gives him a shield. They called that Jarvan and Galli were on the way. Suddenly this could be a 3 versus 2. And Uni looking to go continually forward, wants to find the CC. Instead, they will find alone time with this turret, though.
Sweeper misses the ward, so Peanut in vision.
Flash only lands, here's the rest of the knockup, and they're gonna have all the CC they need. MLXG gonna drop 2-0 SKT.
And Huni, so much pressure on this top side. Now they even get to cut off-let me from the minion wave, and Faker instantly teleports back to mid.
Such a big play in the blink of an eye. The fact that he's in a ward doesn't matter. They're going to invest a teleport just to keep the turret health up. It's low, but it will not fall now. And Faker loses no minions in mid.
People question Huni all year long, ever since he joined this SK Telecom version. He's stuck to his style of high pressure, playing forward on the map, drawing extra resources away. And as you talked about earlier, Papa Smithy, he only got 1% jungle pressure from his own team.
It's doubled now!
I mean, he's kind of had a thankless task in summer. Spring season, he comes in. First game was Maokai. He played a lot of Poppy. He looked great. He fit in. In summer season, halfway through the season, as we look over a bit of a replay here, his only wins were on Cassiopeia top, Lucian top, a bit of AD Cannon. He wasn't playing the meta champion. He can play the Gnar. He showed it in his victory over Khan in the LCK final, the only game that SKT won. He does play to the beat of his own drum, and I love that SKT, with no Antara, have to embrace that, and all their strategies around a pressure top laner, something that Huni uniquely provides, and Antara does not.
And one of my favorite stats is the Huni style, of, regardless of champion, is effective. On Cho'Gath, the average pass halfway mark for
forward
first 15
percentage?
minutes, forward percentage, is 30% of the time. They'll be across the halfway point. Huni's Cho'Gath forward percentage is 50%.
And Huni has had to reinvent himself a bit here with Jace banned permanently. He hasn't played the Trundle once. You think about what a Huni champion looks like, you think, what about Cho'Gath, the big blind-picked mid laner of this tournament? It doesn't work for Huni because it doesn't have turret-killing pressure. You need to either gank Huni and allow SKT to make plays on the bot side, or Huni needs to be able to take down turrets while the enemy team reacts.
Looks like the top lane should be falling on this one. No one's quite in range to stop him. Xiaohu was sent to handle the 1v1, but a little bit, not enough time really had, and Huni will get the solo kill on first turret of the game. SKT up 2,000.
Gonna walk over a trap here and reveal himself, so SKT know what's on the way.
Damage onto Wolf, but it doesn't matter. MLXG so far ineffective on this Lee Sin pick. It's been Peanut been able to actually get a gank off on this, and now we got to fight into the mid lane. Let me puts on the dodge time, and Xiaohu gonna find himself a duel against Huni, but he's got to be careful. Peanut is around. A lot of burst damage. He's almost gonna take him. One rocket, but the damage reduction of Galio saves Huni's life.
Single-digit HP means that Gnar does not fall down. It was a lane swap by RNG to try to have the Corki answer Gnar. Ranged auto attacker alike in the top side. Shannon mid lane, that would have been a big punishment, a way back into the game for RNG. It does not happen.
Faker saves another teammate, applying the damage reduction for the last rocket. Meanwhile, down bottom lane, Ocean Drake taken up.
So a solo Ocean, 14 minutes, not the ideal, but not bad. The fact that RNG's duo was able to heads up 2-on-2 with a bit of intervention, but not a true gank, get the turret kill against a Caitlyn lane. No one gets first turret against a Caitlyn lane. RNG did, so strengths on different sides. Uzi and Huni, the two major forces.
The turret health was high, but they knew that all the members of SKT were top side. There was no backup for SKT while MLFC was bot side. They couldn't know that he was taking down the Ocean Drake. They had to respect, they backed away. It's nice to pick up the turret, answering turret for RNG.
And you talk about the 2 points of power, Freak. Just a little fun fact here, Huni was at 3 HP from that last engagement. So that
hit points of power.
That point of power, was 3 HP from falling over.
He attacked one extra time with his Cole, got 3 life unhit, lived through Xiaohu.
And while the early game has gone good for SKT, they don't have the inevitability of mid to late game fight Lulu Kog'Maw. It is Caitlyn this time. Caitlyn, after the big debut with WE with the Janna Caitlyn lanes, has not found any real success subsequent to that. Nard is going to go for a DPS build, but there's no guarantee that if this game stays around the 2,000 to 5,000 gold mark in 10, 15 minutes time, SKT can win team fights.
Yeah, you definitely have to run it through the team fight simulator here. Theoretical damage output of a Corki Tristana is amazing. However, there is higher disruption on SK Telecom's side. So if the front line can play well enough to disrupt the auto attacks and the damage output, then it could be similar. Here we go on the bottom side, though. Let me is the target.
Two puts in the dodge. He buys a lot of time, but here comes the rest of the squad. Wolf is here. The taunt to buy some time, but Peanut can walk away. SKT, 3 unanswered kills.
That was really strong. Even through the dodge field, able to pick him up. They'll summon the Rift out, force RNG to react bot side, and Faker's just leaving open, trying to wave clear around the mid lane.
Baker feels like he's constantly trying to put out fires across the map, but
Look at the number one damage on top. Flash kicked him into the wall, and all of the rest of the damage is there. Huni, of course, the standard build doesn't have any resistances yet, and they knew their limits. MLXG hoping to get this first turret, but here comes Faker. They've got to walk away.
No turret taken down. Faker keeps moving around. Second charge on the Rift Herald. Difficult to return to a chunked out bot lane inner turret, so not necessarily going to be a big factor. Very nice execution on the top side. That was the second kill onto Huni. That 3 HP hadn't have been there the previous time. That would have definitely been a psychological blow to Huni, but giving up his life there and keeping up his summoners is decent.
2,500 still the lead for SKT. He can still feel good about this one. The fact that he got first turret gold means he's still ahead of his opponent in the lane. Uzi hoping to find something to do. Shahu forced to run away as well from Faker. And pressure in all these lanes.
Something else that RNG really like to do with Shahu on this Corki is have him on the side lane and split pushing. So, you know, we'll get another look at Let Me here on Shen as he gets dove, ending up being a 3 versus 1. But it starts out with just Faker and Peanut doing most of the work. Then Wolf comes in. He adds the wild growth just for good measure.
Huni had half a rage bar, so there was a chance if this wasn't instantly executed that he turns around, but the flash kick takes away any time to react. A single auto attack in the air without a flash may have been enough for the transform. Very nice punishment by RNG.
I think he was actually in the middle, but I started hearing the sound, but as he leaped, the bounced off, he got the rage. You normally transform in a crunch as that goes in, and those few seconds, all they needed.
Exactly. You consider one more auto attack connects because of the time to close from the Lee Sin. The transform probably happens. Maybe there's a trade kill, but good investment of the flash. Picks up the proactive play for RNG.
And again, the point we were talking about earlier, the difference between what you expect and what you got out of Caitlyn. Absolute value almost the same, but that's not how this game works right now. So Bang working back from a deficit. The real trough comes at 2 items. I think right now should be, of course, not too bad for Caitlyn. But from this point onwards, Uzi gets more and more powerful than Bang.
And I love the fact that Kobe talked about the disruption factor for SKT, because a perfect fight where RNG have the Cosmic Radiance going and then they free hit with it, they will probably win. And I think that will consistently be the trend. But there's so many different ways to force positioning, to bait out something like that big ultimate from Ming, where suddenly it doesn't matter how much damage you have if Let Me and MLXG die and there's no front line for the 280 carries to DPS behind.
The execution here for the next 5 minutes are critical because, as we've seen with the stats for Caitlyn, you know, she does drop off with the attack speed nerfs that you're talking about later, Free. And we've seen so many of the teams stall out with the pushing, but SKT are keeping up the pressure, trying to get that bottom secondary turret.
I think he might have known that MLT had no flash, but still a flash to get away. Didn't want to get knocked up, but quick dodge out by Let Me, but SKT able to get their 3rd turret now of the game as bot lane 2-2 falls. RNG only just getting top lane outer. Being able to run back, he's got a Lulu near him, put some damage on towards Uzi.
Meanwhile, as we talked about before, the Trinity Force Corki, RNG love to have Xiao who's split pushing, and now once again making quick work of this top turret, even though they sacrifice on the bottom side and Let Me on Shen is unable to deal with the multiple members of SKT down there. RNG are trading some gold and trying to fuel their later game carries.
And never lose sight of when the Baron is spawning against a Ardent Sensor turret, able to really reapply that in an AoE and force down a fast Baron. So even on simple levels, you think conventionally, hey, you're gonna get a Mountain Drake, you're jumping around the right side, you have the right side of control by controlling bot side for SKT. The Baron pressure of this Ardent Sensor turret at 20 minutes is immense.
It truly is, because all of the champions on RNG also very successfully utilize that Ardent Sensor buff. That's one of those times where the Ardent Sensor gold value of this item will actually be like 9,000 gold.
Yeah. This is one of the very best ones for it. I'm actually glad RNG didn't go for this kind of composition. And we'll see if they can make that happen here. Of course, SKT though still with the lead from their early plays, but taking back some disadvantages in other spots as Peanut now we go for this Mountain Drake.
At the moment where the Galio mid is a comfortable one, he can just lazily walk over to the Baron and make sure nothing's going to happen there to stop the setup, stop the control wards from being too advanced. So tanky that he's happy to face check away.
RNG trying to keep that pressure on top side while sacrificing this dragon. They really want more gold. Gold to fuel these carries. And yes, they would love to have a Mountain Drake to really put more threat on a Taric Baron, but if they can get the items onto the Corki and Tristana, that's what they're looking to try and really bridge this gap.
Seems like they respect that Lulu better in duels right now than Tarek, which makes sense. Tarek much more of a team fighter, all area of effects around that champion. You saw that Bang is able to push Uzi away despite the momentary deficit. The fact that Uzi has a completed static shift, but no IE done for Bang. Certainly a difference in what would be power in a fight. Bang's able to control the lane though, and not take too much damage.
One of those things though where SKT have a lot of delay. Caitlyn wave clear with a ship, Galio. A lot of globals to bail them out if there's a proactive move. But the delay is not necessarily towards a better moment for SKT in team fights, and that's why RNG, they don't want to opt into this, but they have largely been a team to just have Uzi pushing out minion waves, hit 3-4 items, and then abuse how strong, or embrace how strong their team fighting has been. So for now, SKT happy with the pace of the game.
See the continued push. As SKT now answering the mid lane, and no one's going to stop them. They got the rest of the team to go away, and this is now 4-2 in turrets. SKT pushing farther ahead. 3,000 now the lead.
Cost of having Corki in the side lane, no teleport ward for him to be able to get in there, and obviously a Corki teleport. Situational at best, so doesn't mean they give away the free objective.
And LG now forced to go towards what tank stats he can, getting himself Knight's Vow, but with not a lot of durability, honestly. He can be cut down in a fight now, looking at the next shot towards Bang. Good damage up, but here Shahu getting him down almost!
Oh.
The barrier and the wild growth both keep him alive.
Two really big cooldowns there, and the pressure mounting for RNG as they collapse around mid lane. Will Peanut be left alone?
He is, but he dodges a stun. It means he's able to walk away. That could have been a dive if not for the quick fingers and the juke away. Still 3-4 in turrets. The lead is SKT's 2,500, but moments of pushing now for RNG.
SKT are going to have to show us something special here. So rarely do we get the feeling in these games where time is not working in their favor, as RNG really starting to close the gap as they get closer and closer to that Corki Infinity Edge coming in as well.
I think Bang forgot he didn't finish IE yet. He just got a Zeal, which is more than the combined cost of what an Infinity Edge takes, which is like 1,200 change. Like, I think he just overlooked the fact that he's lowering his damage output, which may come to hurt him in a team fight, but we'll see.
The DPS onto Xiao, who has the movement speed here. Can only assume it's for extra attack speed for the Ardent Sensor, but given
Not
the lower
right
value.
it's literally
I know,
the right item.
I know you are the oracle for builds, but hard to forget you don't have an Infinity Edge when your whole item, 6 items is full.
I do not see a way of explaining your way out of this
He
one
recalled
as
it
well.
exactly 1,200 gold, and I think it's 1,225 to finish IE from this point, and he's like, I need the power spike now. I didn't want to sell a Doran
That seems
shield.
more likely than forgetting.
I would sell the Doran shield though, 100%.
Either way, we have no Infinity Edge on Bang for any sort of fight that breaks out around this Baron. And with all of the outer turrets dropping, you know, RNG are moving in, taking the vision control, even with this middling gold lead here for SK Telecom. It feels like RNG feels so comfortable with the current state of the game. And there it is. Now the Corki has his Infinity Edge as well.
Yeah.
So it's 2-0, where it should be 2-1.
2 Infinity, maybe beyond that right now. 0 for SKT. Let's see if they get anything out of this one. And I want to move our conversation a little bit since we are in a lull in the action. Not a lot of fights just yet. It's RNG going for vision control. I want to see what legacy these teams can leave for us. Uzi's been in 2 World Finals. Sadly for him, he's lost in both of them. Faker's been in 3. If RNG win this, Uzi gets to tie that mark at being in 3 finals himself. Maybe this will be the one that he wins, but you can kind of tell the tension is there. They're a bit more hesitant to pull the trigger, knowing that one mistake is the last mistake you get to make for the year.
And like the analyst talked about on the desk, until SK Telecom actually ever get knocked out of Worlds,
Yeah.
you're not really going to believe that it's likely to happen. It's the mystique around this team with the consistency that they have performed with year after year have really built this up.
It's the end of a chapter. If they lose here, they will be remembered, RNG, whatever the result of the final, as ending SKT's undefeated best of series streak at Worlds, and that already is the sort of thing that adds to Uzi's legacy, but doesn't quite get him a title.
And the statement always is, I'll believe Rome burns when I see the ashes. Right now there's smoke, but is there really fire? SKT still with the gold lead, and you can argue compositions, but execution is always what matters at the end of the day. And 8 times now, that question's been asked to SKT, will you bow out? And every single time they have won that game instead and gone further and further. There's a reason they have won 3 world titles in his clutch factor. A factor that Uzi just simply has not shown yet in his career.
They're looking to go double digits in best of fives at Worlds as well. Would be 10-0 in best of five series at Worlds ever since 2013 if they're able to take it here.
Slow on to Uzi, Rocket jumps away and decided that wasn't too afraid of Kai'Gosm anymore. Been away some vision again. Xiaohu continues to be on the split push with this teleport. This is a double TP team plus Let Me's ultimate. SKT, of course, with a similar situation. They've got the Galio plus the double teleport.
One of the little ways that you can feel like RNG is reclaiming control of this game is that Huni is never really pushing past the river on the Gnar. He is basically pushing out a single minion wave that Shen pushed to him, and they're just trading farm between a Gnar and Shen, which lets you know he's not confident enough to keep pushing down. They can't rotate him topside for now. They don't want him to lane against the Corki. So for now, the Gnar pushing pressure on Shen isn't really a bullet point of this game because they're just trading farm between the two.
In the meantime, though, SK Telecom still should be able to control the neutral objectives here. They push out the mid wave. Bang and Wolf are rotating over for another Drake. Luckily for them, Ocean Drake not the most benefits on this stage of the game.
Sure.
But they'll definitely take every little bit they can get.
Thomas Smith, you mentioned trading farm before. To narrow in on that topic, you actually look at who's having gold leads on both these sides. Xiaohu and Uzi are actually the ones with gold leads over their respective counterparts of SKT. It's top jungle support with 4 gold on SKT, but even in Redemption, no one cares that Wolf has 700 more. Lulu with a Crystal Embracer doesn't do anything different, so some of these spikes are really valuable, such as Rapid Fire Cannon being done on Uzi and not for Bang.
On a simple level, RNG have killed more minions than SKT have, even though SKT have the pressure draft with the Galio Global, with the Gnar who is pushing in. So the fact that RNG have got access to more minions than SKT lets you know that their ability to defend in the early to mid game, to stop the game from snowballing further after the first inner turret went down in the bottom lane, it's been a robust defense, and they've rotated Xiaohu and Uzi around well. End result is big item leads for them right now.
All right, let's talk about how SKT could craft themselves a beneficial team fight, though, because there are other items at play here, with Caitlyn traps being able to close off jungle corridors and being able to create terrain with Jarvan for Huni to use for a large Gnar ultimate.
Yeah.
Speaking of disruption, they have these very big possible combos of Jarvan, Galio, and Gnar getting to that backline and stopping that TPS. Yes, you know, if Free Firing Corki and Tristana with Infinity Edges are left alone, then they can take the call.
The attempt, the flash, and Huni gets which way to go away. And that's not going to get the kickback. But here comes the package. This could be the fight that seals it all. Here they go into the front line. Huni transforms, but will he be knocked down? No. He's going to stay alive. 5v5 still available on both sides here.
No one dies. More tools used by RNG. They teleported in. Couldn't find a fight win. Huni can teleport back in, but he will be exhausted on the mini-Gnar. We all take a big gulp, and the game resets again.
And they did have to use Huni's flash to get out, so that's one component that would make it easier to pull off that big AoE combo for the back line. As well, Bang on the Caitlyn. His flash also expended, so have to worry about the positioning. Really important here for the next fight.
Definitely agree. 3 summoners for 3, though. The overall trade in this one, no Ignite to reduce the healing out from Bing here, as once again RNG look to be playing for the ward control, but SKT still has trinket wards inside the Baron pit, so nothing really stifled out just yet. The mini-map not fully gray here as RNG push forward and once again get control of mid lane first.
And even though it's by a different path, this game's RNG's draft, with where they have the multiple damage dealers in the late game and SKT only having one, still echoes what they did in game 1, where they said, if we can take it late, we will win. Now trying to increase the pace of the game, though. First attempt at Baron.
Trying to pull SKT into the pit. The vision seen a little bit here as the ward goes over the wall. They know it's at 5k. And Faker holds the front line. What kind of taunt can he get? What kind of setup is there? The snipe coming through. SKT actually re-engaged on the Baron. And they're going to get rid of the vision. Down to 4,800.
Nars in bot lane actually is taking a red buff and pushing. So SKT aren't serious about actually forcing a 5v5 fight, but they have pushed RNG off the Baron.
Yeah, they're just trying to delay the members of RNG here. Now, Let Me's been sent down to the bottom to deal with that minion wave, though, and SK Telecom disengage.
First time they've gotten any sort of control over the halfway mark and actually wards into the blue buff area in a long time. So RNG, a bit out of nowhere starting Baron, cost them a lot of map vision. Yep. SKT get inside track on mid.
They win the exchange. This turret down below us. 1/3 gone already, down to half HP. And who's going to stop them? Some wave clear from Corki, and it lives at about 1/4 health. But that last minute or so was much better executed by the Koreans, by the defending champions. Hoping to reclaim that throne yet again as They're one game away from eliminating Royal Never Give Up here, making it to their fourth final.
Most impressive thing to me about SKT this tournament is that they found themselves with the lack of control over games with a goal disadvantage many times over the course of the tournament. And those were the games they actually pulled out and won. They lost to Snowball comps from Misfits twice. They lost to the Fizz Sejuani combo AHQ was playing. But all those long games where they were in large gold leads, they won because the one thing they have been able to do consistently is set up a line of defense, understand if this team makes one move on this part of the map, let's get the maximum advantage somewhere else. They never give up free lunches. That has been the consistent story with SKT, and that's why there, RNG made their first practice move in a while. They said, okay, we've got the item timings, let's start the Baron. Let's make the fight now while we know we're strong, and SKT respond to it and actually get an advantage from it.
Well, SKT never give up free lunches, but Royal Never Give Up is in the name. That was lame, but it's going to be still the battle for vision over that one. I'm actually disappointed in myself. I apologize profusely everywhere, but it is still, it's just the tense vision battle. That is what this game is boiled down to at this point. The waves being cleared reasonably well on both sides. Huni not getting crazy inroads into the side lane.
I completely get it, Frank. There's nothing to shout about right now. We're waiting for that Titanic moment. We thought it might have been the teleport play from Xiaohu, but it was snuffed out even though it was the aggressive use of the Shen. This game is bleeding. It's basically requesting a match winner to show up in a moment. Another Baron start, we might see that big moment.
And it feels like SK Telecom are calling RNG's bluff. They're saying, prove it to us now. We are proven champions, and we have the poise in late game. You make the first move.
The flag saw it. It was still down there. The taunt's going to land on a one. The stun there to join it as well. They get the ulti out of Gal. Let Me will be knocked up there. The chase in still going for Bang. He's got the damage up, but Chunks uses it to happen, forces the rocket jump away, and meanwhile, Gnar still pushing in the bot lane.
So Huni was doing in their losses, doing it here as well. He's back in main form, which when it comes to turret damage, is actually a benefit for the Gnar.
Huni taking his toll down there on the bottom side, and the veterans in SK Telecom get a little bit more pressure.
Continually able to split the map, and once again now starting on the Baron. The team far away. MLXG can join this, but the Baron losing health rapidly. He sees, guys, Bang's hitting the Baron.
There's no control ward on the Baron, so they're not actually able to secure it. They had one in the inventory. They peel away. SKT were not going to finish.
And critically, Xiaohu on the bottom of your screen in the minimap, chasing Huni down, who was closing in his rage bar for a teleport to join the rest of the team. But here they go!
Cataclysm pops and kicks right back to the rest of the team. MLXG hoping to buy some time. Will get flashed on by Faker. The knockups to follow. Here comes Shen. The knockups took him in. Do they have the damage up? But MLXG trying to run away, getting up the wall, staying alive with a chase in for Peanut. Will find the first kill and break all of the silence. And the chase now for Let Me slowed. And no flash, but getting away, but a dead jungler is all SKT needs.
They find the kill on the jungler, and that's all SK Telecom need to flip the switch. Baron started up once again.
He's still pretty far away, walking in an easy solo on the Drake for Huni. Baron losing more and more with health, 8,000 health left. You can see a quick blink in, Uzi nearby. Bang, hitting the shots in, down to 4,000. Let Me in the front line. Here's the TP in for Huni, and a trap gets Uzi too low. Royal Never Give Up, gonna forfeit the Baron. The spike comes through, and now it might be too late for Xiaohu. Flashing away, hitting the blue for a bit of move speed, but his health bar's running low, and Faker will shut him down.
SKT was so reliable on the defense that RNG got angsty. They thought something had to give. It was SKT that were actually able to pick up the important pick, the one time they actually had control over the Baron area.
Nerves of steel for SK Telecom, and it pays off with a jungle pick into Baron buff and opening up the RNG base.
35 seconds till Xiaohu is back. This should be an easy push at the very start. So the question is, what do they go for? Is it inhibitor and more or inhibitor and back? And they look to be positioning a bit forward here, but they will cease at this point, take the win that they can get, and let the respawns happen.
A lot of Baron buff duration. They have a backup win condition spawning in the Elder Dragon. They picked up 3 stacks on that as well. No need to get greedy. We're not going to be able to finish the game with Justana alive.
SK Telecom so confident in this front line, able to find the pick there in the critical moment to open up game number 5. And let's take another look at MLXG here on the attempted escape.
Yeah, he doesn't flash. He doesn't flash, but in previous areas, this would have been fine for him to go for aggressive vision. SKT were not defending the Baron area that aggressively. This time they do, and Peanut just about finishes the kill.
That's just so greedy. MLXG's in front of 4 people, and he says, I'm in Cataclysm. That's okay, I'll wait it out. And they give away all the control.
SK Telecom. Call for RNG to prove that they deserve it, to move past them, but not to yet be proven. Now they're going to have to do it into a Baron buff on a pushing SK Telecom. Open mid lane here has already been destroyed. Super minions will soon be making their way to RNG's base. And a bunch of purple minions will be making their way to the bottom of the base.
Yes, they are. And as they continue marching on down, it's a source of gold for RNG, but a source of consternation, knowing that if their base falls, their hopes are over.
And we rewind. What were we saying? RNG with the double Infinity Edge carries, they just wanted to team fight. SKT got their advantages without even starting a team fight. A pick was all they needed. Now they roll in with the long-range Caitlyn, trying to take a second inhibitor turret. The only thing they wanted to avoid was a fight, and so many times Galio looked to be going aggressively. We knew it was just to allow the Nard to split push. SKT does not want a 5v5.
What's the next play? Onto the bot lane they are. The traps from Caitlyn making re-engaging difficult. Let me blocks the shot, and the siege can continue. Huni walking up, the rest of the team doing the similar. Cannon shoots away at this turret.
Say what you want about the nerf DPS of Caitlyn in team fights, but her tower siege is still premier here. Caitlyn traps basically nullify the opportunities for engagement, and the range destroys the turret.
And with the turret gone, that means there's no engage to be had for RNG. There's a back off of this one. A nice knockback means there's no taunt on Uzi. Look at the next one is Xiao, who actually cleanses away with the QSS. The inhibitor is gone, and now there should no longer be a fight that RNG wants. SKT able to get the clean second inhibitor take with the siege.
And we also come back to drop. We said MLXG is on the Lee Sin. They do not have true engage on this team. With MLXG's flash down, even when he buffers a Q onto a front line and you think, oh, is this going to be the insect play? The reliability without the flash is not there. Put down the traps, have the Galio put up his big W taunt, and then take down objectives. The crowd is roaring. They are cheering for RNG. How are they going to fight a 5v5 fight when SKT has spent 37 minutes denying a 5v5 fight?
Well, with two inhibitors down, there's not a lot of territory for RNG to work with anymore. They've got so much minion clearing duty ahead of them. Every 30 seconds is going to seem like a lifetime as the double stacked super minions will be buffing each other up when mid lane meets bottom lane at the Nexus turrets.
It does allow gold to keep flooding in. Uziana lead currently over Bang on this one, but the siege continues. The overall team gold, of course, much higher for the South Koreans, looking for top lane tier 2 now. Faker able to tank up these shots so easily. Even if the theoretical damage is higher, Faker's real tankiness just the highest in this game.
It's never going to get access to the Caitlyn. It can't walk up and actually stop the turrets going down. Faker, maybe he's taking damage. It's hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, he can take 3 turret shots for just a Lulu shield. And it gets harder from there when you have Block It, Redemption, and everything else. Bang again, putting some shots down, gets a couple hundred health off of Letby.
Maybe it's worth just trying to kill Nard quickly, but even that's so difficult right now with Branduin's complete. Turret's falling low.
Faker pushed away, but yeah, the shot's still coming in. The turret's tanked up, and this will be turret number 8 for SK Telecom T1. They've doubled the score of RNG in that regard.
And the SK Telecom war machine slowly creeps forward. Bang places another line of traps. The super minions are inside of the base, and RNG's options are running out.
Snaps up, auto's ready. Faker again holding the front line. Ming burns Locket to block it. That seems a bit excessive, but wants to be full HP for that one. Let me take a couple of shots as well. Maybe a taunt onto the tank here. Let me is going to be pulled in. The taunt zone, dodge zone gone, and not a lot of damage for this one.
Minion wave in mid, starting to be pushed in. Minion wave in bot lane as well. RNG have good wave good. They can rotate around and stop the economic victory coming through from the minions pushing in. But otherwise, they're just basically watching, hoping for a miracle from this man, from MLXG.
He's found out the Warthog's ways. There's a lot of shots come out from Bang though as well, and Ming's at 2/3 health. Red buff goes once again, 2 in a row to Bang, stolen away from RNG's jungle. And well, there's an Elder Dragon waiting on the other side of this wall. It looks like there is no chance for RNG to stop this. They will get mid control for a moment and not much more. A 4-stack Elder Dragon going to SKT. He has to respect Faker's fight comes in. Uni goes for the Mega Nard. The triple stun. Here's the follow through. It's going to be 2 already. And into the back lane goes Letby. Cannot kill off Wolf though as the Chinese members are falling left and right. Uzi on the run. Peanut here to follow soon. Jumps forward, finds the dunk, the flash away, but it's a 3v5. Can you win this fight and make it down to 2? This could be the death now. Uzi trying to kite from Huni. Oh. It's not gonna happen. That's 4, that's gonna be 5, that's the ace.
And the legend of SK Telecom will not die today.
I've been told they're immortal, but they are not going to die today. A 12,000 gold lead, the team fight when they need it. SKT, masters of control, will take down the Nexus, will take down RNG, and are headed to their 4th World Championship final.
You never profess the death of SKT at Worlds until you see it in front of your eyes. Najin Shield went up 2-1 against them in 2013. Rox Tigers went up 2-1 last year. This team has been down multiple match points before, but they keep coming back, and Uzi could not be the clutch player in the last game. MLXG made the match about himself, drafting the Lee Sin. No big kick coming through from MLXG, and the SK Telecom T1 juggernaut rolls forward to a 4th World Final.
It rolls forward, but it was pressured. They had to work so heavily for this. 2 best-of-5s. SK Telecom have been pushed to the brink. Yes, they have made it, but man, it's been close.
Down 2-1, and both times they pulled back the last 2 games they needed. SKT, as you said, time and again, but it's worth repeating and mentioning. You don't see dynasties this good in esports or any sports. 4 World Finals in 5 years. Could be 4 titles in 5 years as well. The team so happy. Peanut came in and was the clutch member needed.
So often we've talked about the substitute jungle situation with this team. You know, Banky and Blank, now Blank and Peanut. And yet, as one of them gets subbed out, the other one always comes in to save the day.
Peanut smile, definitely a bit of a ray of sunshine after all his depression. Assistant coach Rapid Star on the screen again. And to your point, Freak, we use very flowery terms when we talk about SKT's dominance. Odyssey, other Greek mythology words. The era of, the chapter of. The chapter is still being written. We are still seeing it. There was a chance for it to be closed today, and maybe a new one spring eternal next year. But the chapter and the resilience of this team, for Peanut to come in and be as good as he was, dictated 2 in Game 4, strong in Game 5. Suddenly, they've got another selection headache on their hands, but it's not which jungler is less bad. It's which weapon do they want to unleash in Game 1 of the World Final, because Peanut looked a lot better. That level 2 gank was vintage Rox Peanut, just at the right time.
The level 2 gank, the catch on MLXG by the Baron that allowed them to break the entire game open.
Well, a great win by SKT. To their 4th final they will go. And now to hear more about that series clinching win, let's send it down to our analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We went the full 5, but SK Telecom T1 once again show us why they are the best team in the world, winning 2 straight to push themselves to a 4th consecutive finals. And for RNG and fans here at home in China, disappointment strikes as they realize how close they were to taking down the defending champions.
Did you know SKT's last 4 best-of-5s at Worlds have gone to 5 games? And they've won every single one of them. Like, the way they adapt throughout the series, and this is the scrappiest I have ever seen SKT play. The gymnastics they had to do in pick ban throughout the entire series here, into the way that they played around Huni's split pushing so much in these last moments. Like, they keep proving why they are the best.
I mean, it feels like it started out like a boxcar race, and then it was like this beautiful car at the very start of Worlds. And as it's gone further downhill, like a wheel's popped off, the windshield cracked open.
Still rolling, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Flames are coming off the back of it.
But it is still rolling. I mean, you talk about having to pull off some gymnastics in Champion Select. We look at this game in particular. Whoever thought we'd see SK Telecom banning Leona and Nocturne of all champions in the 2nd rotation, just because they're like, hey, we're not going to get surprised by something crazy like that.
And I think with that mindset, it does make some sense, but a lot of people are certainly going to be focused, I think, on the Lee Sin pick for MLXG, because that's one that has such a high barrier of execution. You know, your baseline effectiveness is incredibly low on this champion. Unless you are pulling off fantastic plays at the professional level, the champion simply does not contribute nearly as much as his competitors, as the Jarvans, as the Gallias, Jarvans and the J4s and Sejuanis.
Yeah, and yes, RNG's carries outscaled that game. And I think RNG on an even gold game with the same mentality as SKT does outscale with that team composition. But what we said beforehand, like why I thought the least likely outcome for this series would be an RNG 3-2 victory is that poise that you have in the big moments. Like we saw Bang head in hands after game 3. We saw Faker eyes closed, finding his focus before that 5th game. And they did. Bang played amazingly those last 2 games. Faker played great the entire series.
But if you want to talk about the player that individually stepped up in game 5, funnily enough, it was Peanut. It was mentioned by the casters, right? The big level 2 gank and that catch on MLXG. Time now for us to throw it down to an interview with the SKT jungler.
Thank you very much, guys. And who else could I be joined by them? By Peanut, who was laughing and smiling very broadly when he walked off the stage. Peanut, how relieved are you that after those 5 intense games, you guys were able to close out the semifinal?
피넛 선수 결승전 진출 축하드리고요. 정말 치열한 5경기 끝에 결승전 진출을 하셨는데 지금 어떠한 기분 드시나요? 안도감을 느끼시는지 아니면 정말 그냥 승리에 기쁘신지 지금 현재 느끼시는 심정을 말씀해 주세요.
일단 안도감도 들고 일단 첫 번째로는 일단 승리한 기분이 지금 그냥 말로 표현할 수 없을 것 같고 너무 힘들었는데 제가 롤컵 서머부터 너무 힘들었는데 그래도 오늘 마지막 게임은 좀 잘했다 생각해서 그것 때문에 더 기쁜 것 같아요. 네.
I sure am relieved, and it's really hard to. I can't express it in words how happy I am by winning the series. And starting from LSK Summers, I had a rough streak, but I'm really glad and I'm satisfied with my own performance for this last game. So this is a really great experience for me.
And I can only imagine the pressure that came with you being subbed in for the elimination game for SKT. Can you tell me a bit about what the coaches told you and how you were able to overcome that pressure and prove yourself?
특히 이제 SKT 탈락 위기에서 이제 다시 한번 경기에 투입되었는데요. 그 시점에서 뭐 코치님이나 다른 선수들이 어떤 조언을 주고 어떻게 이제 피넛 선수의 어떤 말을 했는지 어떤 마음가짐으로 경기에 투입됐는지 궁금합니다.
일단 조언은 너무 여러 가지로 많이 들어서 그냥 조언들은 진짜 많이 들었고요. 그냥 마인드는 제가 항상 선발로 나와서 항상 경기 임할 때 좀 경기할 때 부담감이 됐던 거는 그냥 교체 당할 것 같다. 그냥 교체라는 생각에 엄청 게임할 때 영향이 많이 끼쳤는데 오늘은 제가 선발이 아니고 서브로 가서 서브로 나오니까 그 부담감이 없어서 좀 잘 된 것 같아요.
So I got a lot of advice from my coach and my teammates, but I think I had a different mindset because usually when I play as a starter, I'm worried that it might get subbed out at some point. But since I was subbed in this time, I could just fully focus in the series.
You were saying it yourself, had kind of a rough patch in summer and maybe also in this tournament. So I remember you from MSI being smiling all the time, and it was kind of the Peanut show. So how is your confidence now going into that all-important last match and that World Championship final?
이제 피넛 선수가 이제 LCK 서머부터 살짝 좀 다소 부진하는 시기를 보냈다고 말씀하셨는데 사실 이제 MSI 때는 피넛 선수 항상 웃고 정말 즐거웠고 MSI 최고의 스타 선수였잖아요. 근데 이제 이번 준결승 통해서 어떤 자신감을 가지고 결승전에 임할 수 있는지 말씀해 주세요.
일단 오늘 마지막 5세트를 계속 생각하면서 결승전 임하면 그래도 또 자신감이랑 진짜 약간 자신감을 더 찾은 것 같아요. 저는 계속 있었다고 생각하는데 그냥 없던 자신감도 다시 생긴 오늘 5경기였던 것 같아요. 네.
So I think through Game 5 today, I regained my confidence fully, and I'm gonna keep on replaying this Game 5 in my head and keep this momentum going on, and my confidence and morality really high going to the finals.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll see you there. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again, Peanuts. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. As this is a game I'm sure he'll remember forever, I want to take a look at the moment he might remember forever from it. 33 minutes in, the pick on MLXG to get the Baron for SK Telecom.
And let's just take a moment and look at MLXG's flash. That's up. That's available. Still available.
Exactly. I think it was straight greed right there, and Faker had been pulling off these bluffs the whole game, and I don't think MLXG expect him to go for it. It then baits in the rest of the Shen ultimate. It means they burn Shen ult, it means they burn Shen flash, it means there's no jungler, and it started this sequence of events with which RNG never recovered.
And at the end of the day, these are the situations where you have to be able to handle the pressure, you have to be able to think clearly, make the optimal decisions time and time again, and that's really what it seems SKT excels at, and these other teams that keep challenging them always fall short at.
And it's not just MLXG messing that up by holding his flash, it's then Xiaohu trying to steal the Baron with the rocket. Even after that MLXG death happens, if you're not going to fully commit to a 4v5 fight at Baron, you have to concede the Baron and have loss minimization, which is what RNG was really good at for most of the World Championship, but couldn't hold it together when it mattered most.
And I will say this. MLXG is probably going to get a lot of heat because that play is going to stand out as the kind of the big undoing, especially in Game 5 across from SKT. But it does take something for players to step up and to try to win the game. The fact that he locked in his Lee Sin in Game 5, that he tried to take the responsibility, and then even Xiaohu, who tried to save the play by overextending, looking for the Baron. So while there were mistakes, if that had worked out for them, they're then suddenly the heroes.
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So what I'm disappointed in is I'm disappointed that the game even got to that point for MLXG, to be in this place where, like, hey, he needs to find the initiation, because we were never asking when will MLXG find a fight before. He was just doing it. And for as much as we praised RNG for going for 50-50 Barons against Samsung, they did it and it worked. They had Lee Sin kick. They could have kicked Jarvan away. They could have tried to do a 50-50 with the big team fight, but they never got to that point. They had one kill in Game 5.
And to that degree, you kind of see in that moment him weighing the decision between, do I blow my flash for safety or do I play greedy to hold it for that eventual flash kick that could win us the game, for that game-winning play that we so often expect to see from him.
And I think, honestly, if you're going to criticize MLXG for not being able to find the fights, you also have to praise SKT for playing very intelligently around their win conditions, around their opponent's win conditions, knowing that if Faker is around, you can actually take those fights. And this was the final fight. Huni finding the Gnar ultimate, catching everyone, and as soon as you saw him go over the wall with the Elder Dragon, you knew the series was over. You knew SKT were going back to the World Finals.
And the immediate response from Faker, and while I do agree that Huni has been incredible, Faker has just been amazing. Not only this tournament, but this series in particular. 5 games on Galio. I don't know how he got every single one of them, but even in the losses, he was unparalleled.
Yeah, and we watched the way Faker paths in the early game. He was doing a level 2 roam top in one of the games to help out Huni, but it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to play that game. Huni has to carry. Faker is also helping a lot from the Galio.
I think it's so impressive that Faker, while often up in CS, is able to roam constantly. He's able to threaten the side lanes and absorb pressure. He seems to be able to do it all, and to me, there's no doubt in my mind that he was the best player in this series on either side, and I think that fully deserving of getting there again.
All right, let's talk, though, for a moment real quick about Huni, though, because this is one of those teams that is kind of, you know, rejecting that Ardent sensor meta, and they continue to look at Huni as someone that they want to put resources into, and they are finding success.
Yeah.
We keep saying that they look wounded, but they are winning.
I know, and there's a chance that they're probably the favorite heading into the World Championship, pending the results of the series tomorrow. And I always come back to the question of whether or not SKT is playing around Huni because they want to, or if they have to. Because SKT has always found a way to win in whatever means necessary, but I feel like Huni's teleports have been off, and when he does his own thing, when he's allowed to just split push and almost never teleport back in for the collapse, and SKT is just so good with this experienced 4-man unit, like that's when they have looked best, so that's the way they're playing.
And I'd also say, while we talk about them playing around Huni, it's not like he's getting nonstop help. He has insanely low jungle proximity. He's barely ever getting help from his team, but it is playing around him in that this is the style the team all has to work with, right? You have to be able to play defensive with the 4 if your 5th is going to be off in the side lanes, but I think he's doing it as well or better than anyone in the world right now, and to me, this is kind of the success that we were expecting to see from someone like Khan. People were super excited about the carry top laner. I think Huni has been showing an excellent display of that.
Well, what I think as well is Huni has always been so amazing at being Huni. And when he joined SKT and when we saw Huni in the spring split and Huni and MSI, they're like, wow, Koma coached Huni into this amazing tank player. Huni's still Huni. He's not being the tank player that could be coached into a different man by Koma and Carter. He is playing the way he has always played, but the rest of SKT is enabling him to now be in the World Championship with the rest of SKT.
Talk to me, Frost.
And then you have to look at kind of the other 2 top laners across from it. It's either going to be 957, it's going to be QV. And both these guys, I mean, QV a bit more has more of that lane pressure, are big 5v5 top laners. It's about their teleport play. It's about how they set up the team fights. And now they have to play that split push style and be flexible if you want to control SKT.
All right, the big plays came from Huni in Game 5. The big damage came from Bang down in the bot lane. Let's send it down for a word with the SKT bot laner.
Thank you very much, guys. Indeed, joined here by Bang, who also played that 5 games of that very intense series. Bang, what from your perspective were the biggest challenges that you overcame today?
일단 정말 치열한 경기 끝에 승리하신 거 축하드리고요. 오늘 경기에 가장 고비했던 부분들이 어떤 것이 있었나요?
저는 일단은 1경기는 사실 패배가 그렇게 아쉽진 않은데, 저희가 두 번째 접을 때는 굉장히 이제 저희가 생각대로 챔피언도 다 가져오고 했는데 단순히 그냥 순전히 저희 실수로 좀 이기고 있던 경기를 역전 당했다고 생각해서 그때가 좀 많이 아쉽고 또 고비라고 생각해요. 상대가 기세를 더 탈 수도 있었고 저희가 좀 꺾일 수도 있었는데. 네.
So when we lost game one, I wasn't too worried because I thought that was a game fair and square. But when we lost game three, I was really worried because we had the picks that we wanted and we had the game planned out, but we just made a lot of mistakes and lost that game really early, so easily. So after that game three, I thought that was the tipping point and challenge for us to win the series because we thought that the RNG would get the momentum going on.
But you guys took the momentum back. That also happened when you played Misfits. You guys received, as a bottom lane, a lot of criticism after that. So how do you feel you've performed, rebounded, and how do you feel you've performed today, rather?
이제 사실 지난주 미스피스 경기할 때도 이제 3경기 지고 좀 위기가 있었지만 다시 한번 경기 흐름 바꿨는데요. 4경기를 통해서 사실 그때 미스피스 경기 때는 좀 바텀 라인 좀 다소 경기력에 대한 좀 그 비난이 있었는데 어떻게 경기를 다시 끌어올렸는지 궁금하고요. 이번 시리즈 그 바텀 라인 그의 경기를 어떻게 평가하시는지 궁금합니다.
저번 주에 이제 미스피츠랑 경기를 한 게 저희한테는 이제 굉장히 약이 됐다고 생각하고 저희가 사실 롤드컵 준비하기 전부터 또 준비하러 와서 레오나나 블리츠 크랭크 같은 불타는 향로를 가지 않는 챔피언들에 대해서 완전히 배제를 하고 저희가 게임을 해왔었고 연습 경기에서도 한 번도 안 나왔었는데 이제 그런 픽들에 당했잖아요. 근데 저희가 사실 그래도 한 3, 4일 정도 준비할 시간이 있었고 그 픽들에 대해서 연구를 다시 했고 사실 저희가 미스피츠전 경기 전에도 자신감이 굉장히 있었는데 그 챔피언 상성만 이제 좀 문제 풀이를 하면 그건 저희는 실력에 자신이 있었어서 그냥 그런 것들에 집중을 했었던 것 같아요. 네.
So I think through the last Misfits series, we learned a lot from them. Like coming into this tournament, we didn't even consider like playing against Leona or Blitzcrank. We ruled them off the table completely, those non-Ardent Sensor champions. But through that series, we learned a lot about ourselves and about the other champions that could potentially get picked. And I think through that experience, we were able to recoup the past 3-4 days, and through that practice we were able to play a lot better this series.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Bang, and we'll see you in the final. Thank you, Homan, as well. Back over to you guys.
Thank you, Shocks. A nod to Misfits there and what they were able to do against SKT in terms of making them rethink their approach to the game. I think, again, as we talk about how challenged SKT has looked at the different stages through this world specifically, to some degree, it also reminds you again how powerful a team they are when they do absorb that information, turn around and use it for themselves.
I mean, that was always the question, is what kind of form are SKT going to look like in 1 week's time? We talk about how they constantly are ramping up during tournaments, and they absorb your powers, they learn from you, and then they execute on them better. So RNG, Misfits in the regards.
And I also realized what a crazy road this 5-game series was, because they took a lot from Misfits, right? They hadn't been playing necessarily meta. Galio, J4, Lulu, Caitlyn, Nar. That's nothing crazy, and that was the Game 5 team composition, but it was the journey to get there. The fact that Nocturne and Leona bans were thrown in there in between, but ultimately they did manage to manufacture what felt very comfortable for them in the end.
And when we talk about SKT, we talk about dynasty. It takes a lot to sustain a dynasty, but we like to recognize one player who is crucial in finding that win for SKT. So player of the series is being awarded to Faker.
Shocker.
I mean, he is the dynasty at this point. Let's be honest. This guy, one of the most impressive things about it is not only his incredibly long-term success, it's the fact that every iteration of SKT is built around him. He is always the focal point. He is always the star. And it seems like there's no sign of them slowing down.
And when you're going to find all of that success, why not build around Faker? I mean, there was games where this guy was ganking top, mid, and bottom all within 5 minutes.
Only one champion portrait necessary for this graphic. Normally, we're trying to cram like 3 different photos in there. Nope, not today.
I haven't verified this, but I feel like that's the first time someone's played the same champion all 5 games of Best of 5 at Worlds.
It might. That's a totally unverified stat. Take it as you will.
There's just got to be no way. With the way series adapt so much, like you do also have to call into question the fact that RNG gave him Galio in all 5 games? Like, were all of those other bans always necessary? You have to wonder a little bit.
For sure,
Well,
but they'll be wondering too.
I mean, at the same time, you know, if you look at it, if this is a SKT lost series, which it very well could have been, people
Then
would
you're
be
going to
like,
flame Coma
why
for
would
picking
you
Galio.
be picking Galio? Why do you put the best player in the world on Galio? So it's very hard, and you can look at it both ways. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with Faker, because he can play everything, and he can play everything at the highest level.
I mean, I think the thing about Galio, though, is it just allows Faker to do everything. I almost wouldn't rather have him on any other champion. Like, he can absorb any sort of pressure in the mid lane. He can gank everywhere around the map. He's running double teleport. Like, that guy was everywhere doing everything that his team needed.
It allows him to do everything. He's done everything. Let's toss it down to Shox one more time to speak with SKT's mid laner.
Thank you very much. I am here with Faker, who has just been crowned player of the series after 5 games on Galio. Nonetheless, how do you reflect on your own performance today?
페이커 선수 갈리오를 5경기나 하고 결국 이제 시리즈 MVP로 이제 뽑혔습니다. 본인의 경기를 이번 경기를 어떻게 평가하시나요?
네, 오늘 좀 갈리오로 실수가 많긴 했는데 제가 또 워낙 갈리오를 잘하다 보니까 받을 줄 알고 있었는데 뭐 크게 놀랍진 않은 것 같아요.
So I did make some mistakes, but I was well aware of how good I am with the Galio. So I was actually expecting to receive the player of the series. So I'm not too surprised.
Not surprised, so there you go. When it comes to the knockout stage, this has been one of the most, if not the most challenging knockout stage for SKT so far, with 2 matches going to Game 5. How has that influenced your mindset now going into the final?
사실 이제 페이커 선수는 지금까지 모든 롤드컵을 통틀어서 가장 그 어려운 다전제 시리즈, 즉 모든 다전제 시리즈를 5경기까지 가면서 이제 힘들게 승리하셨는데요. 이러한 좀 고전을 겪으면서 결승전에 올라가는 마음가짐을 어떻게 갖추고 계신지 궁금합니다.
저희가 지금 많이 부족하기 때문에 오전제 5경기를 다 많이 치르고 있는데 다음에 좀 더 보완을 해서 최대한 3경기 안으로 이길 수 있게 바꿨으면 좋겠고, 왜냐하면 제가 지금 좀 배가 매번 끝날 때마다 배가 고파가지고 다음에는 좀 빨리 밥을 먹고 싶네요.
So I think it was due to us making a lot of mistakes and our poor performance that we had to go to Game 5 for every single series. So going to the finals, I would like to make sure that we improve and work on our mistakes so we can end the finals by Game 3, because I'm really hungry right now and I hope to finish the final series within 3 games so I can go eat quickly.
Okay, I see that is of course a very important thing to think about. Yet the finals still have to be played in that amazing Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. Who are you hoping to face there, Faker?
이제 결승전에서는 이제 정말 어마어마한 규모의 경기장인 베이징 올림픽 스테디움에서 경기하실 텐데요. 그 경기장에서 어떠한 팀과 붙기를 원하시나요?
네, 저는 일단 큰 경기장을 가본 적이 몇 번 없어서 이번에 특히 기대되고요. 뭐 저는 언제나 그렇듯이 어느 팀이 올라와도 크게 상관은 없을 것 같아요.
I'm really looking forward to play at the Bird's Nest because I don't have actually much experience in playing in that size of a stadium venue. So I'm really looking forward for that experience. But I don't have any actually big preference of who I'll play against as usual.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much. Faker, a very cheeky Faker this time around. Back over to you, Guy.
Thank you very much, Shox. Pointing out the fact that he hasn't played in a stadium as large as the Bird's Nest. If we recall, the one Worlds he missed was the one in Sangam, World Cup Stadium, and that was the next largest venue. So that will be a treat for him now that he has booked his ticket to Beijing.
Yeah, and Azel pointed out during the interview is like he looks really happy.
Yes.
After that one, you can tell how much stress SKT was under in this last week. Like, it's not just some made-up storyline that SKT has been pushed to the brink and that they look wounded. Like, they had to kind of throw out the book of what they were planning after the Misfits series, completely remake it. Then the Leona Blitz stuff didn't work. They had to remake it again, go back. Like, they have been so damn scrappy that you can see it. Faker's just really relieved and happy to be through to the finals.
And so while we go for it. Closing point on Faker.
To me, it's just the fact that they have like this Mary Poppins bag where they are able to like reach in, and it's like you have no idea like how many strategies do they have.
There has to be a bottom
games.
to that bag. There's only so many champions in League of Legends, right? But while we talk about how SKT has been pushed to the limits in this World Championship, I think we have to talk about the teams that have pushed them to those limits. And in this case, it was RNG. We are saying farewell to them, Uzi and the crew. But they did put up quite a performance today and once again have challenged our world champions.
And I think they can be proud of their performance here. You know, they didn't get to the World Finals, as I've obviously set out to do, and win that first title for Uzi, as he's been chasing after for so long. But, you know, this is an all-Chinese team that performed exceptionally well. They went very far, and I still think that they should be holding their heads high to push SKT to a Game 5.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the thing is losing to SKT, I mean, that's still going to sting, especially when you're that close, but it doesn't mean the end of the world, whereas beating SKT means everything. And RNG were that close to doing it.
Yeah, and I like how RNG did RNG things. Like when they locked in Vayne, when MLXG picked Lee Sin, we're like, that's just RNG. That's just the way they're going to play.
They're true to their identity.
And I hope they're not discouraged by the Game 5 loss, because that is a great team that just lost to the best team ever. And they beat Samsung twice in group stage. They went up 2-1 against SKT. Ming was a rookie this split. Like, as long as they keep grinding, I think they will have a chance next year to make it to the final.
Couldn't say it better myself. Now, as we close out the day, let's pull up the bracket. SKT return to another World Final as they look to defend their championship title in Beijing. And now we just need to see who will meet them at the Bird's Nest, Samsung Galaxy or Team WE. Let's talk about this matchup real briefly.
I mean, to me, this is the ultimate 50-50. The LPL teams have never been afraid from Samsung Galaxy. We faced them quite extensively at Rift Rivals, and Samsung liked to team fight, WE liked to team fight. To me, this is two juggernauts ramming into each other.
And it's going to be super exciting because, you know, while Samsung showed a lot of weaknesses in groups, they did lose those 2 games to RNG. They looked so much better in the quarterfinals, and their adaptation, their preparation, I think, was a strong point. And we saw that C9 used preparation well against WE, though they fell short. So I think it's going to be an exciting series, and a lot, to me, will come down to the draft.
Yeah, and I feel like unlike last year where we had the SKT Rocks that were like clearly the 2 best teams of the tournament playing in semifinals before finals, Samsung and WE are in the conversation for potential world champions. Like,
without a doubt.
Really excited for tomorrow. It's going to be hard to outdo today. Probably impossible from the storylines we had going in.
This
like, right, I was about to say,
Yeah.
the teams have delivered this entire tournament long.
Yeah, we've said that about as many times as we've said SKT is wounded. So
Yeah,
we'll
okay, well,
see
that's
if it
fair.
ends up being true or not.
Fair point, fair point. But there we have it. We're going to put a capper on the day. So for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for Worlds Tonight, where Shox will be joined by Frostgren and Kobe to review the series and look towards the upcoming semifinal match. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2017. Good night. And Royal Never Give Up, taking to the stage for our first semifinal. We were here just a year ago to watch these teams battle. Here comes the chase, lands the kill! And the Chinese crowd goes wild! Locked, despite the ulti from Ming, that's gonna secure no flashes in, but still the sight too early from Blake. They still won't have time to back. The twin get the double kill already. Going in with a smite, it's gonna be picked up. Look for the kill. One already got his bang and lost his life. Game 1 is done. RNG need 2 more. Jump away. The Deadly Venom maybe taking him down. Letme on the chase as well. Baker going towards the turret. Trying to shout over the...
一个大一个，小心小心一点。
The chase into the turret. The take goes, but he's trying to find the cover, but no kills coming across. Will they get some more kills? Uzi tops it up to flash forward. The body slam is in. 2 deaths already, making a third shortly. SKT will not be stopped inside their opponent's base. The reigning world champions are closing in on their march. Looking for Blake, looking for the chase down now into Bang. Pops Yoki stun gonna land. One or duo man, but Baker gonna join. Flashes forward. Chase continues in, and he's not gonna be long for the world. Stopping him, will knock from the mid lane. Unstoppable Uzi is himself, and Wolf is gonna be skinned as well. RNG are a single game away from making history. Goes to the knock with their own number of spells to land. A couple of getting himself right.
야 이거 톡톡톡 이거. 오케이. 나이스.
Without a carry, this could be the game just now. The flash forward. They found the second and double for the Godfall.